Romaine Bostick, alongside the illustrious Caroline Hyde, taking you through to the closing bell with the global simulcast. It starts right now. Tim Stenevec in the radio booth. His assistant, Carol Masser, joining him for one day this week. Welcome to our audiences.
Can I take a letter from somebody?
Across all of our Bloomberg platforms. Here on, I guess we could call it a record-setting day, at least for Nvidia, a record high, and briefly a $4 trillion market cap.
Yeah, briefly before dipping back down. But, you know, you take a look at the Mag 7. I'm looking at the Bloomberg Mag 7 Total Return Index, and you've got 6 of the 7 names all higher today. So if you want to know where some of the momentum is, and this is something we talked about with Gina Martin Adams, investors continuing to plow money into those kind of really mega cap tech names. That's where it seems to draw the most attention.
Not looking like a record, though, for the S&P 500 today, Caroline. We are just about 0.3% from that all-time high that was reached back on July 3rd. So that record is safe for now.
Safe. We wait to see what can catalyze it. I think the bond market has really spoken to the stock market today as well. The fact that those auctions went well, the 10-year catching that bid, the yield scream lower for the first time in about 5 days. Maybe that juices some appetite when it comes to the stock market.
We should also point out, just looking at the cross-asset picture, you're seeing Bitcoin now back around that 111,000 level, and the VIX below 16 right now, and that raises a lot of questions as to whether people are ignoring potential risks and volatility out there in the markets.
Makes me wonder if some of that risk could be in earnings, right? We're just, what, about a week or week and a half away?
No, Carol. Tomorrow. Delta reports tomorrow.
No, you know.
Do you not pay attention
about
to this
JP
show?
Morgan on Tuesday.
Come on. You know when it officially, unofficially starts.
The earnings season officially kicks off tomorrow. Delta and ConAgra set to report earnings. Meanwhile, here on the day, green across the screen for most of the major indices and averages here in the great United States of America. Dow Jones Industrial Average higher by more than 200 points or 0.5%. The S&P 500 just shy of its record high, 62.63 and change, up about 0.6%. The NASDAQ Composite and NASDAQ 100 each up just a little less than 1% on the day. The Russell, believe it or not, that's your outperformer once again, and maybe that's a good sign, rallying 24 points or 1%.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting to see that outperformance there. Hey, S&P, I'm going to go back to the big caps, if I may. 302 names in the S&P 500. Caroline, higher today, 200 to the downside, 1 unchanged.
Meanwhile, I'm looking at the sector breakdown. If you're looking at the S&P, utilities lead the charge up more than a percentage point, but you've got big old tech doing its groundwork as well. Communication services, of course, you fold them together, and that is why you've got Nvidia, Meta, Amazon as your leaders of the pack from a points perspective. Consumer discretionary in the red, consumer staples, a little bit of energy too.
All right, a lot of green there. I'm going to go back to something that Romaine mentioned earlier, and that's Nvidia. It did top $4 trillion in market cap. First time for a company to do that ever. And we are seeing it, though. It did close at $3.9 trillion, so a little bit below that. But nonetheless, the stock up about 1.8% in today's session, up about 21% here in 2025. So a big milestone for that company. Meta Platform, another of the Mag 7. This one up about 1.7% in today's session. This was a top gainer in the NASDAQ 100. The company buying a minority stake in Luxottica. We've talked about this before, that relationship.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. You weren't here. Sorry.
Something's never changed. It's like it's just like.
Are you getting flashbacks, Caroline?
I gotta go.
Now you know why she left the close and went to Bloomberg Tech.
She's come back.
He's
right?
going to mention your boat in a minute, Carol. I'm just.
Oh, I forgot about the boat.
Caroline, come on. So anyway, deepening its commitment when it comes to the smart glass industry, according to folks in the know. So it looks like they've got just about 3% of the stake. I'm going to stop talking because apparently you talked about it yesterday. But I am going to the number one gainer in the S&P 500. That's AES. And this company up about 20% here at the close. So pretty much closing at its highs of the session. Bloomberg News, an exclusive reporting this morning that the company, it provides renewable power to tech giants like a Microsoft, exploring options, including a potential sale amid takeover interest. And this is, again, according to people with knowledge of the matter. So a lot of speculation, but nonetheless, investors definitely taking note of AES. Again, up about 20% in today's session.
Investors also taking notes of cocoa prices. Have you guys seen cocoa prices?
Yes.
They are high. Cocoa powder is in short supply. I've got a little bit of a food theme with today's decliners. Hershey, the second worst performer in the S&P 500 today, down 4.7%. Cocoa powder used in everything from baking mixes to protein shakes. It's now in short supply. Prices for the ingredient surged about 16% in the past year. They're now trading near a record. Companies such as Mars and Hershey, They have different tactics to try to reduce their reliance on cocoa powder, reduce bar sizes, add things like nuts. They've even promoted non-chocolate products altogether. Nonetheless, shares of Hershey down 4.7% today. We should note that yesterday shares fell 3%. The company did name Wendy's CEO Kirk Tanner as its CEO, replacing Michelle Buck. That's going to take place effective August 18th. On to beverages. Monster Beverage down 3.3% today. This after Rothschild & Co. Redburn analyst Charlie Higgs cut his recommendation on the company to neutral from neutral to buy, citing valuation and gross margin pressure from tariffs, an increase in prices on aluminum. So some concern there. Shares fell 3.3% today. And how about some conveyor belt sushi? This is a close to $1 billion market cap company. Shout out to Carol Masser for sending this one my way. Kura Sushi fell as much as 16.5%. This is a company, they've got 78 locations in the US. They've got 9 of them on the way. There's actually a location in Flushing that we can go to try it out, do some research.
Trip. Let's
do it.
Sweet shrimp, octopus, squid, salmon, tuna, snow crab.
Okay, so you already
DES page.
Wow, you already know what you were going to order. Shares fell even after the company raised its sales guidance for the full year.
Maybe not.
Citi says that the longer track record of earnings outperformance is needed to justify its lofty valuation. Shares are up more than 500% since the company IPO'd back in 2019.
Hey, just real quickly here in the crypto space, we're just now seeing Bitcoin actually retop that $112,000 level. Of course, that was the record high, falling back below that just now. But again, still trading at that level as we talk about risk sentiment coming back into this market with that big push higher. And I mean, obviously, apparently, I'm missing out here. And now crypto back to the top. Just real quickly, I do just want to point out yields on the day, too, because we talk about some of the concerns about that auction, which seem to have gone well. And you see the drop in yields on the day. In fact, this is the first time we've seen a drop in yields in the previous 5 sessions. So a 6-day here, finally a little bit of a rally in prices, though I should point out that one of the key parts of the curve, that 5-year, 30-year yield curve continues to re-steepen.
All right, folks, I solemnly swear that I have not lined up a job in private equity. And apparently Goldman is asking some of its analysts to do just that. They're talking to their junior bankers, and they basically want to have them confirm their loyalty on a regular basis so that they don't want them all of a sudden coming to work with them for a little bit and then leaving for a job in PE.
Is that legal?
Well, a spokesman for Goldman says, quote, "We are committed to a culture where our employees act with integrity, consistent with all of our policies. This move meant to thwart poaching by PE firms that have been signing up junior bankers near the start of their on-the-job training. It's called on-cycle recruitment. Some buyout shops are even approaching newbies before they show up for their analyst programs."
And it's one way of saving on training, isn't it? Like you go in, you get someone else to do it for you.
Isn't that what it's supposed to be out?
But then do you phone it in for those 18 months or whatever? Because you know you got a job lined up?
Maybe, potentially here. Sorry, guys, to break up the conversation here, but we're actually getting some news on Kellogg here, actually rallying about 40% in the after-hours trade. Are now learning that Ferrero is nearing a deal, a $3 billion deal to buy WK Kellogg. Of course, this is the cereal company. Remember, they kind of split in two here. You have the snacks business, and then you have the cereal business. I believe WK Kellogg, that's still the cereal company. This is according to people familiar with the situation, and say that a deal announcement could come as soon as this week.
Well, good to see some deal flow happening, right?
This is all Allen & Co. Everyone's over there in Idaho.
Yeah, and we were just talking even before the simulcast here. There was that report about Autodesk looking to buy out one of its competitors, PTC. That would be a deal of a few $1 billion as well here. So a lot of activity, a lot of cash being splashed, Caroline.
Apparently that's a British phrase. I never knew. Or at least I taught it to remain. Anyhow.
Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, Rice Krispies, Raisin Bran.
Have you eaten any of that, Tim?
Have your kids?
If my kids, this would be bad news if my kids knew about some of these. Yeah, these were not allowed in the Stenevec house. Some of these were not allowed in the Stenevec household growing up.
You are a healthy guy.
Corn Pops, though. I have a soft spot for Corn Pops.
I don't even know what that is.
They used to be called Sugar Pops, my dad told me.
That's what they got in them, mainly.
Okay.
Sugar Pops.
Good. Truth in advertising.
Yeah.
It's like Sugar Smacks.
All right. Shares of WK Kellogg, I'm just going to go back there, up about 40% here in the aftermarket. So something to certainly keep an eye on. All right, guys, that is a wrap. Good to have you here, Caroline.
Are you back tomorrow?
I am.
Oh, okay.
You really are back just for
Always
one
have to
day.
check.
Just for one day.
Just for one day.
Just for one day. That's a wrap. Our cross-platform, radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We do it all. Caroline and Romaine, of course, finishing up there and continuing on television. Tim and I back here on Bloomberg Business Week Daily on Bloomberg Radio. We'll see you again. Same time, same place tomorrow.